Hey, this is Darrell from TechCrunch. We're here. It's launch day for Apple Watch. It's finally here, sort of. Not in stores.
That's right. Launch day online only,
Yeah.
home delivery.
Yeah.
But you've been able to try them on in stores for about a week.
Yeah.
We've been playing with them for a little bit. The launch in stores and not, or launch online and not in stores is an interesting tactic for Apple.
It is, and
different.
it seems like they just had a lot to work with in terms of it's a new product, and they got to manage expectations, and they don't want customers walking in and seeing nothing, and they're doing the online orders too, and they're prioritizing those to some extent, right? Because some people who thought they were going to get them in June or July are getting notifications that they're already being processed, or May or June.
Right. So it seems like their early shipping estimates were sort of paced very conservatively, so maybe they'd be able to over-deliver rather than under-deliver.
Yeah, and that has to do with supply chain, with demand, with who knows what, right?
We've set ours up. I'm wearing the 42 millimeter steel Apple Watch with the Steel Link bracelet. What do you have on there?
42 millimeter steel as well, and this one has the black leather loop bracelet.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, looks like I've just got a notification actually. Yeah. So that's one of the main use cases that we've seen so far. Obviously, is notifications from important apps. One of the biggest things that I think I'm going to have to do over time as I use it is winnow down the amount of apps that I allow to send notifications to the watch, which you can do inside the watch app.
Yeah.
And that's part of the setup process. So let's walk them through setting up the Apple Watch a little bit.
And it's a nice box. It reminds me kind of the Power Brick. It's like the Power Brick, but like without the cords attached to it. But then you open that up and you got your watch sitting in there, and you power that on with a long press on the side, and then it starts to give you instructions about how to pair. And it brings up this image, and it's like what would you call it? It's like a particle cloud
sort of like
or something?
a cloud of particles that rotate on the screen, kind of a amorphous blob.
Yeah.
And you point the phone's camera at it.
Yes,
and
once
then
you've opened the
pairs
Apple
two.
Watch, it gives you, it just
sort of
opens it
Apple's
up.
fancy version of a
QR code.
QR code.
Yeah.
And then once you sync the watch and the phone together, the particle cloud becomes more sort of formed and forms into like a little helix shape, acknowledging that. So very aesthetically pleasing, as Apple tends to do stuff well like that.
And then it asks you orientation, you set that up, you're left-handed, right-handed, you're good to go.
At that point, it asks you if you want to sync all of your watch apps that you already have, because many developers have already updated their apps to support the watch in one fashion or another. You
probably noticed this if you pay attention to your updates.
Your release notes.
Yeah.
Those watch components need to sync over to the watch, and that process took a few minutes. I would say maybe 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, it is something that you're gonna want to set that and then go about your business. You can continue using your phone as you would normally, so it shouldn't impede your usage as long as you remain in that Bluetooth range with your watch and the phone, which is like 40 feet or thereabouts generally, I think.
Right, but if you're at home and they're both on the same Wi-Fi network, they're not limited.
Yep.
So I'm not sure if that extends to the pairing process or the sync process or not, but it may be true, but I would say safest bet is to just keep them in proximity until they're done syncing. Yeah,
with stuff like that, I'm always worried or anxious that I'm gonna like disturb it and it's gonna break it forever.
It always goes back to the old days when you used to play around with devices that had firmware updates, and you were afraid if you even breathed on them during the firmware update, it would brick it. Things don't work like that anymore. I kind of miss that, the tension,
Mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. So once we set it up, we the watch bands, of course, they already had some on there, but I know you swapped yours out. So how'd that process go?
The process is very easy. Like I'll work it off here. Like this one attaches by magnets, right? So each of these segments is a magnet and they attach to each other. But if you just slide it out, there's a little pin on the inside. It's not a pin, I don't know what it is, a little button, I guess, which is kind of flush, but you just press in like that, and then you can just slide it either way. Oh, there we go. And it comes right out. And you can slide in the new one, and it has the same sort of mating connection there too.
So for people that are curious, you notice that there's sort of like a kind of a double bumper situation here, which provides the tension for the device staying in the slot. It kind of slides in, and then there's a small kind of catch, and that catch is what actually clips in when you slide it in. So there's a sort of an arrangement that allows you to slide in and get some tension, and then a clip clips in to keep it in place. But when you release it, it'll slide out either direction, either left or right. So it makes it a little easier to get off. The Steel Link bracelet, which I'm wearing here, has a little bit of a different on-off scenario. Because the bracelet has a lot of side-to-side tension, like so, it's a little bit more difficult to say slide one end off and then slide the other end off. So what they recommend you do is actually slide one partially off and then the other one partially off and then take them both off. So instead of one end and the other, you have to sort of do them in conjunction. Or another way you can do that is to actually remove the band or take the links apart like so, and then remove the stubs from the watch and then put them back together.
That's like, that might be one of my favorite things about any of these bands, is the fact that those links come apart so easily.
Yeah, these quick release links I think are easily the biggest engineering feat
Yeah.
of any of the bands. The Milanese is very, very slick, very well done. But this particular engineering process here of them creating a quick release button for each of the links, about 6 links on the bottom of each side of the band,
Yeah.
that allow you to remove the links one by one to size the watch. So if I push in here, I can remove just one link at a time and then put it back by just pushing it into place like so. Allows you to size the watch without visiting a jeweler or risking scratching your link bands at all. So there's no pins along the edge. It also makes the whole arrangement thinner. It's about half the thickness of a regular steel link band that you might see on a nice high-end watch.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the band process. And then what's your kind of first impressions having it on for a few hours now?
I like this. This is the one that I had thought I was going to like based on my in-store try-in, and so far it's borne out. Like it has, there's a little bit of motion you can feel like as you're going around, but it just feels like a clasp on any other normal watch. So it's good.
Right. And the leather loop bands seem to be kind of one of the more popular ones because they don't have a mix-match metal problem, right? When you mate them up with it, so they might look good on an Apple Sport watch
the
as well as
connector
the
here.
steel.
Yeah.
Right. I'm liking the steel one so far as well. As far as functionality goes, I've had a host of situations so far that have sort of worked as advertised. I'm unlocking my watch with a passcode at the moment. And that will happen anytime you take the watch off your wrist and put it back on. You'll need to re-engage it by entering your passcode. Yeah. But a couple of the things that have come up so far, Siri reminders. I actually very rarely use those on my phone because I find it easier to just type them in. I use external applications like Fantastical, for instance, to enter my reminders using natural text.
Yeah.
But in this case, with it on my wrist, I was able to enter a reminder and kind of trust that later on I'll be reminded to pick up my car from the valet, that kind of thing. The other thing that I've seen, obviously phone calls coming in, text messages coming in, those all handled pretty well. The speaker is actually surprisingly loud.
Yeah, if you're using it as a
phone calls.
speakerphone,
Right.
it's pretty good for that. And on the other end, it sounds pretty good too, based on just very limited testing so far. But you don't really need to speak directly into the watch either, unless you're in a loud room. You can sort of speak from here.
Sure, and if your arms are on the wheel, for instance, you can just speak out. Although many people have Bluetooth in the cars now, but if you don't, that could be a nice addition automatically from your wrist. So we've had a little time to play with it, but we're going to continue doing so. Over the next week, we're going to be experimenting with these watches. Darrell and I and other TechCrunch staffers will be playing with the watches and entering them into kind of a daily log of our impressions.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to follow along with that as we break it down. If you have already ordered your watch and haven't gotten it yet, this will be a nice resource for you. And if you're still on the fence, it can help you decide whether or not some of the functionality kind of tilts the scale and makes you kind of want to buy one.
Yeah, I'm very curious to find out about like third-party apps, especially because I haven't had a chance to use many of those yet. But I want to see how that works, and I want to see how it works, sort of tracking running and stuff like that. Because the season's just starting for me, so it's a good time.
Part of our daily breakdown we wanted to do was have people use a different functionality, maybe office work, activity, that kind of thing, and that way we can expose it from different facets. Maybe one is more interesting than another, so we can get it all covered.
And if any readers have anything that they want to see explored, like, feel free to let us know, because that would be, I think, especially helpful, because this is a weird device in terms of it's a thing that you want to try out, but it's not something you can take away from the Apple Store and try out for a few weeks and then see how you like it. So we can do that for you, hopefully.
Excellent, thank you.
Thanks very much.